Hey there, Oposiciones. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and ready to learn about the fascinating topic of romanization. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Latin? That's so boring. But trust me, with the right approach, it can be quite the blast. Just think, if you want to understand Latin, do not decline my help. In this unit, we will delve into the origins of the English language by exploring the history of Roman Britain and the Anglo-Saxon invasion, although we will start by talking about the origins of the English language and the native Celts. Understanding these historical events is crucial in order to fully grasp the topic at hand. The Roman presence in Britain lasted for almost 4 centuries, but the collapse of the Western Roman Empire led to the withdrawal of the Roman army from Britain in the early 5th century. Despite the collapse of the empire, the influence of the Roman Empire in Britain is bigger than most people realize. The Latin language, law, engineering, architecture, and many other aspects of Roman culture have had a lasting impact on Britain and the English language. As educators, we can resort to the study of etymology to help our students understand the dynamics of the language, particularly the curious ones. Despite the young age, many students are eager to discover the reasons behind things, and the study of history and etymology provides us with the perfect answers to satisfy their curiosity. Before the arrival of the Romans in Britain, the island was inhabited by a group of people known as the Celts. These native inhabitants were divided into several different tribes, each with their own distinct culture and traditions. They were skilled farmers, metal workers, and artisans, and they were also known for their fierce warrior culture. After the withdrawal of the Roman Empire from Britain, the island was invaded by Germanic tribes, including the Jutes, Angles, and Saxons. These invaders brought with them their own language and culture, which would go on to shape the development of the English language. Old English, also known as Anglo-Saxon, was a Germanic language that was heavily influenced by the Celtic language that was already present in Britain. The book Our Magnificent Bastard Tongue by John McWhorter in 2008 explains this very well. Additionally, words from the Norse invaders who came from the 8th century to the 11th century also contributed to the English language. English is a member of the Western branch of the Germanic family of languages. This means that it is closest to Frisian, a language spoken in the Netherlands and parts of Germany, though little is known about the ancient Frisians and their role in the invasions of Britain. The Germanic family of languages is a branch of the larger Indo-European language family. It's worth noting that the Germanic invaders called the native Celts Wellas, which means foreigners, and from which the name Welsh is derived. This highlights the fact that the English language, culture, and identity have been shaped by a series of invasions and cultural exchanges over time. The Romanization of Britain began in 43 AD, when the Roman Empire, under the command of Emperor Claudius, invaded the island. Roman civilization was most prominent in the southern and eastern regions of Britain, particularly in the cities of London, Colchester, and York. The extent of Romanization of Britain was not as profound as in other provinces of the empire, such as Gaul or Hispania, but it seems to have been much more important than what has traditionally been considered. The Romans left a lasting impact on Britain, shaping its culture, language, architecture, and many other aspects of the island society. The Roman Empire established control over Britain by appointing a governor who represented the emperor and had supreme military and civil jurisdiction. Firstly, Britain was divided into two provinces, Britania Superior and Britania Inferior. Later on, these provinces were further divided into smaller administrative regions, Maxima Caesariensis, Britannia Prima, Flavia Caesariensis, and Britannia Secunda. Chartered towns, such as Colchester, a colony for retired Roman soldiers, enjoyed more autonomy and privileges compared to the rest of the population, who were considered subjects or peregrini. It is likely that Latin was not widely spoken by the native population in Roman Britain, although it would have been used as a language of administration and commerce by the Roman authorities and elite. In contrast, other territories in the Roman Empire, such as Gaul or Hispania, had a more profound Romanization, with the Latin language and culture being adopted by the native population. Roman citizenship was an important way of social advancement in Britain, and it could be obtained by 25 years of service in the auxiliary forces. It is generally agreed that the population of Roman Britain, 2 million at its peak, was lower than many other Roman provinces, or at least it was less densely populated than many of the other provinces, such as Rome, Alexandria, and Carthage, with populations of over a million. Roman Britain economy was prosperous and dynamic, based on exploiting natural resources and exporting goods. Agriculture was the backbone of the economy, with irrigation and drainage systems increasing productivity. Industries such as mining and metalworking were also important sources of revenue. Timber, silver, gold. Luxury goods trade, with examples as wine, tableware, and glassware, and commerce were a significant part of the economy, linking Britain to the Mediterranean world. Slavery was a fundamental part of the economy, as Celtic slaves were considered fierce and strong. The state played an important role by collecting taxes, maintaining public works, and investing in infrastructure. Roman economy affected the distribution of wealth and power in society, with the upper and middle class benefiting more than the lower class. The urbanization of Roman Britain was a gradual process that occurred over the course of several centuries. They had a number of urban centers with around 5,000 inhabitants, many of which had existed before the Roman conquest. These pre-existing towns were expanded and developed by the Romans, who invested in public works. New towns like Londinium, London, were also established during the Roman period. They were strategically located near roads, ports, and other transportation routes. The towns also had a diverse population, composed of Roman citizens and non-citizens, and were centers of trade and commerce. Roman towns were characterized by a grid-like street plan and were often surrounded by walls for protection. Roman urban centers also had public amenities such as bathhouses, temples, and forums that served as the center of social, political, and economic activity. The urbanization process in Roman Britain was not as extensive as in other Roman provinces, but it was still significant and had a profound impact on the society of Britain during the Roman period. Religion in Roman Britain was diverse and complex. As traditional Druidic and Celtic practices, the Roman pantheon and the later introduction of Christianity coexisted. That played a crucial role in the process of integrating the native population into Roman culture and way of life. Roman art and architecture were heavily influenced by Greek art and culture, but in Britain it also included elements of Celtic art. Art was used as a tool to promote Roman values and ideals, and it reflected the social and economic status of the owner. The influence of Latin on the English language is undeniable, as it has had a profound impact on the development and evolution of the language. The process of Latinization of English began with the Roman conquest of Britain and continued through the Middle Ages, with the adoption of Latin as the language of religion, science, and administration. It is important to establish different stages in the influence of Latin in the English language, as it helps us understand how and when different elements of the language were borrowed and adopted. This includes loanwords, which are words borrowed directly from another language, and calques, which are phrases or expressions translated from one language to another. An example of a loanword is spirit, which was borrowed, albeit slightly modified, and an example of a calque is wisdom tooth, thence sapiente, translated into English from Latin. The borrowing of Latin words into Old English occurred in three different times, namely the Continental period, the Settlement period, and the Christianity period. This zero period took place in the continent, where there was steady contact between Romans and the Germanic tribes along the Rhine border. We can trace some words to this period because they are present in three different branches of the Germanic languages. These borrowings were sometimes mutual. For instance, the Germanic word spadu went into Romance languages, like in Spanish espada. From this period is the English word money, which comes from the Latin word moneta, which referred to the temple of the goddess Juno Moneta, where Roman coins were minted. Other words include wine, carpet, and cheese. The settlement period of the Latin influence in English refers to the time when the Anglo-Saxon tribes settled in Britain and came into contact with the native Celts population. Place names and segments of place names in England, such as Chester in Winchester or Lancaster, or London and Dover, are examples of the Latin and Celtic influence. Words that were included to English during this time, such as anchor, punt, or oil, also reflect this influence. After the decline of the empire, Vulgar Latin continued to spread in administrative uses. The reintroduction of Christianity into Britain by St. Augustine in the year 597 saw the greatest influence of Latin upon the British language, as the Church used Latin as a common language for religious texts and teachings. Many Latin words escaped sound change in English at that time and are hence easy to identify, as they have been retained in their original form. The establishment of schools and monasteries required new words such as apostle, monk, school, spirit, and savior. Words such as Easter, which originally referred to a pagan festival, were given new meanings. The Roman alphabet was also adopted to replace the old Germanic runes. Other words that were borrowed during this period include calendar, legion, and elephant, which reflected the influence of Roman culture and society on the English language. The Viking invasions and corruption within the institution reduced the influence of the church. King Alfred the Great and his son Edward tried to fix this situation by facilitating the Benedictine reform, which brought a revival of religion to the island. The influence of Latin on Middle English is well documented, but it is often difficult to tell whether a particular Latin word, such as consist, explore, or modest, entered English directly or via French. Despite this, Latin had a significant impact on Middle English. It replaced English in legal documents, but its spoken usage was severely limited and artificial, in contrast with English and French. A large number of Latin words entered English through the translation of the Bible by Wycliffe. Latin words also entered through professional writings on law, theology, medicine, literature, and science, such as allegory, history, nervous, script, or conspiracy. Additionally, Latin influences can also be seen in morphosyntactical elements, such as the endings able, ible, ent, al, ous, and ive, which were adapted into English, resulting in words like innumerable, incredible, and nervous. The richness of synonyms in the English language is due to the mingling of Latin, French, and native elements of Saxon origin. This can be seen at three levels of language, which can be broadly categorized as popular, literary, and learned. For example, the words ask, question, and interrogate all express the idea of seeking information, but they are used in different contexts and registers. Ask is the most common and informal of the three. Question is more formal, while interrogate is more formal and legalistic. Similarly, holy, sacred, and consecrated all express the idea of something being set apart for religious use, but holy is the most common, sacred is more literary, and consecrated is more learned. Finally, time, age, and epoch all express the idea of the duration of an event, but time is the most general term, age is more specific, and epoch is more learned. The influence of Latin on modern and contemporary English is notable in a number of ways. One of the most significant periods of Latin influence on the English language was during the Renaissance. At this time, English was fighting for recognition in the fields where Latin had for centuries been supreme. As a result, English acquired thousands of new words, the greater part of them borrowed from Latin. Examples of words borrowed from during this time include accent, drama, and fiction. However, this influx of Latin words into English did not come without controversy, as some writers objected to their obscurity and referred to them as inkhorn terms. In modern and contemporary English, Latin and Greek continue to be active in providing segments for new English words to be formed. These words did not exist in Greek and Latin, but were created by combining parts of words from these languages. Important scholars also tried hard to adapt English to Latin grammar, for example using prepositions before relative pronouns or avoiding double negatives. The influence of Latin and Greek is particularly evident in the field of science, where many words are derived from these languages. Examples include protein, neuron, atom, egocentric, and evaluation. Additionally, classical prefixes and suffixes are often used to create new words, such as co in co-worker, ex in ex-wife, or crasi in democracy. Even today, some expressions or words are preserved in the original Latin form and are used by well-educated speakers of English, such as a priori, per capita, or post-mortem. Words like curriculum and forum are also commonly used in English. Abbreviations from Latin are also frequently used in modern English, such as etc., etc., meaning and the rest, AD, which stands for Anno Domini, meaning in the year of our Lord, and EG, which is an abbreviation for exempli gratia in Latin, meaning for example. In conclusion, the Romanization of Britain was a complex process that had a profound impact on the island, shaping its society, economy, culture, and language. Although the extent of Romanization was not as profound as in other provinces of the empire, it was much more important than what has traditionally been considered. the Latin language played a crucial role in this process, influencing the development of the English language in multiple ways. The arrival of the Romans in Britain paved the way for French, which was ultimately replaced by English. As a teacher of English as a second language to teenagers, the topic of the influence of Latin in English can be a valuable tool for motivating and engaging students. Exploring the similarities between English and Spanish, which are both heavily influenced by Latin, can spark surprise and wonder in students. This can help to break down any fear or anxiety they may have towards learning a new language. In addition, highlighting the connections between the Roman Empire in Britain and Spain can promote the idea of a European dimension and underscore the shared cultural values between Spain, the rest of Europe, and Britain. This is particularly relevant in the current context of Brexit, as it can help students understand the historical and linguistic ties that bind these countries together. Another important aspect to consider is the existence of different registers in both English and Spanish, which can be confusing for students. By helping them understand and navigate these different registers, they will be better equipped to communicate effectively in different contexts. Finally, it's important to emphasize the risk of encountering false friends, which are words that are similar in both languages but have different meanings. We could use this topic by offering possible ideas for learning situations. Creating a Roman scavenger hunt in the school by giving each classroom the name of a Roman city in Britain and distributing clues like Latin words or cultural references. Organizing a Roman cooking project in which the students should cook with the ingredients and tools available in Britain during Roman times. Establishing links with other subjects, like doing a science lesson in English, with a particular focus on words that come from Latin. The topic of Romanization of Britain and the influence of Latin in English can be linked to several United Nations Development Goals, UNDG. In particular, by studying the Roman Empire's political, social, and economic institutions, students can learn about different forms of governance and the importance of rule of law and strong institutions in maintaining peace and stability in society, which is linked to goal number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Additionally, the Romanization of Britain serves as a prime example of how different cultures can interact, exchange, and influence one another, which aligns with goal number 17, partnerships for the goals, highlighting the importance of cooperation and mutual understanding in promoting cultural exchange. For this video and my studies on the topic of Romanization, I have relied on a variety of sources to deepen my understanding of the subject. While the main focus of the topic is the influence of Latin on the English language, I have also delved into the history of Roman Britain, reading books such as Roman Britain, A New History by Peter Solway, and The Romans in Britain by Richard Hingley. In addition to these resources, I have also explored the history of the English language more broadly and was especially struck by the revelations in John Mackworth's book, Our Magnificent Bastard Tongue, The Untold History of English. Mackworth explores the influence of Celtic languages on English and provides a fascinating look at the development of the language. One author who has had a particular impact on my understanding of the topic is David Crystal. I have become a big fan of his work, listening to podcasts and watching TV shows in which he has participated, and reading 2 of his fantastic books. For this topic, the most relevant book is The Cambridge Encyclopedia of English Language, published in 2019. David Crystal is a renowned linguist and author with a career spanning over 50 years. He has written over 100 books on language and has had a major impact on the field, influencing many other linguists and authors. In addition to his work as a linguist, David Crystal is also a popular speaker and has appeared on numerous television shows and podcasts to discuss language and linguistics. Another classic book in the field of the English language is A History of the English Language by Albert C. Bohr and Thomas Cable, first published in 1951. This comprehensive and authoritative book provides a comprehensive look at the development of the English language from its early beginnings to the present day. The book was the result of years of research and writing by the authors, who sought to provide a definitive and accessible history of the English language. Bob was an American academic who was born in 1886 and received his PhD in English at the University of Pennsylvania, and Cable received his PhD from University College London. This cross-Atlantic collaboration helped to create a comprehensive book that covers the history of the English language from its roots to the present day. They both went on to have long and distinguished careers, teaching at several universities and publishing numerous articles and books on the English language. Together, Bob and Cable created a seminal work that has become a classic in the field of English language history, providing valuable insights and information to generations of scholars and students. Thanks for tuning in, Opositores. I hope you found this video informative and helpful in your studies for the Oposiciones. Just a heads up, I just want to remind you that I'm also a student here, learning and preparing for this exam, just like you. I'm definitely not a specialist in this topic, and I might sound a bit ridiculous trying to pronounce some of the Latin words in English, but I promise I've done my best to research and share the information with you. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment if you have any feedback for me. I'm always here to learn and grow, so let me know what you think. If there's a particular topic you would like me to cover, let me know in the comment section. I'll be happy to dive into it and share what I've learned. Thanks for your patience and for watching. Good luck in your preparation for the Oposiciones, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully.